Man, I was so happy to have given that man the ass whooping he deserved. Unfortunately, I hate that others had to be involved. I also remember the moment I began to black out was also due to the fact that he had tried to hurt the dog, and Muma's mom had came downstairs due to the commotion, hopping with her crutch and all. That had me so pissed off when I saw her because we were doing our best to keep her off her leg as she was healing. Both me and Muma was tight about that, and now that I recall, I remember looking at her, getting mad, and seeing Muma's face as she was rooting me on and yelled out, "Cook, flip that nigga." Little did we know I would actually flip him though. I even met some of her neighbors that were watching from the windows the following day, and they couldn't believe it. Everyone was really having a time talking about this on the block. I know he was embarrassed. Fresh and I had proceeded to talk after the mayhem too. It actually drew us closer. We would hang out often, and he even introduced me to his friends. Our toxic relationship didn't feel like it because we had clearly found a little sense of peace within our chaos and each other. And we were now unbothered and able to walk the streets and go places without interruption. Now, by this time, you know me in my name, okay? Cook is what I love to do. It was either me and or Muma cooking, or I was going to get my favorites from the cuchi fritos, that tres copes or mofongo, baby. I ended up cooking one day and had invited Fresh to come up and have dinner with us. No extras, just a vibe. He came through and brought his friend that was crushing on Muma hard. But sorry to that man because the attraction wasn't mutual, so this two man was not giving what it was supposed to have gave for him. Me and Fresh agreed that we were just chilling and we were talking and getting more acquainted. The chemistry was so right. He said he was going to go with his friend back home and return after because he wasn't going to let his friend leave alone when he didn't come alone, and I respected that because it just wasn't working for them over there. Somehow, that didn't go as planned because we continued to talk for a good while, and the next thing you know, I had burnt the corn that was cooking, giving us something else to laugh and talk about. He actually didn't seem to care as we were way too invested in what else we had to say. So now you could just feel the energy in the air, and after all we had been through, fighting for and with each other to protect this little bond we had in our respect, man, we basically go together. And we were ready to solidify it, slightly, just because that man done promoted the ad, like I said, and we both wanted to subscribe. Next thing you know, we was in there sucking each other's face off, and one thing had led to another. Now, before I go any further, I must warn you, this is a trigger warning. This gets very much detailed, explicit, and a little bit gory. So if you can't fathom this, then please just wait for the next episode or go catch up on the other ones. So everything had felt so right, okay? I was getting chills while we were going, but then everything went left. We barely were 10 minutes in, and then the whole world felt like it shifted. Y'all know when the man part bends a little bit when it hit that wall? Now, we know there's no actual bone in it, so what happens next is beyond me, bucko. It came out, and when he inserted me again, it bent, but he wasn't okay, and I could tell. He immediately pulled back out and was holding it like he was in pain. I asked if he was okay, and he said yeah, but I could see he wasn't. He was still holding his man part, and his eyes was closed. I could see him trying to regain his composure, but the minute he let it go, it started squirting blood everywhere. Yo, I could have dropped to the floor. I was so scared. We both were, and I think I stopped breathing for a second. I started panicking, asking him if that had ever happened before, and he's saying no, trying to keep his head in the game, but I could tell he was out of it because he was starting to lose a lot of blood. It got on the bed, my clothes, everything. I said, hell no. I called Muma in there. I didn't care if I was naked, okay? He looks like he's about to pass out as he laid on the bed still holding his man parts. And I'm running through the house screaming now, getting blood everywhere like a pale woman in a movie, sliding down walls. Now, Muma came in the hallway trying to calm me down. I went to go change my clothes, and his friend came running in the room pouring water on Fresh's face to keep him awake. We called the ambulance so fast, and while we waited, we kept talking to him, and all he could do was ask for a cigarette. I told y'all, this man is funny. He's like me when I suffer from pain, from what I see. Taking nothing seriously to stay sane, okay? EMS got there and couldn't believe it. They were even cracking jokes talking about we need to go on Sex Sent Me to the ER. They helped him stay awake and lighten the mood, but everyone was asking me what I had in there. They said they had actually seen a woman who had broke her lady parts, but for a man, this was actually news to them and us too. My name was Gladiator Cooch, Warrior Poom, Sexy Steel, and whatever else anyone could think of. We never even got to eat the food, and his friend ended up having to go home alone anyway now. I wasn't going to leave Fresh alone like that though, especially because I felt like this was my fault. So, of course, I went too and I stayed at the hospital with him. It was a very crazy yet comical experience now that it's past, but man, it was wild when it happened. They had him urinate in a little urinal container and it looked like some thick cherry Kool-Aid. Oh my goodness. I felt so bad because I could tell it hurt him to even pee. I remember the doctor saying that he tore through 3 parts: his urethra, his fascia, and something else I can't remember. Plus, he had to get a circumcision now at his big age. I felt so bad. Let me tell you something though. Remind your daughters, cousins, nieces, and sisters to never be a me. This man and I was in the hospital learning each other's real names, finally able to laugh through the pain, but he clearly agreed that we were pretty wild for this. It was a lesson learned and an experience that we won't ever forget, okay? I even met his mother while I was in there with him, as if I wasn't embarrassed enough, my goodness. She looked at me and said, "So you the one that did this to my son?" And then started laughing. Talking about some, "Nah, I'm just playing with you. I know my child. I'm not surprised this happened." Girl, what? So the way I started crying, laughing, that actually gave me a sense of ease, but I could tell where he gets his humor from too. She was really cool and she could tell I cared, so she did feel comfortable enough to leave him in my hands again, and I stayed overnight through the surgery, the next day, and all. My heart was literally broken for him as they told him he had to get a catheter inserted and he had to have it for 3 months, which actually ended up getting extended for another maybe 3 months because he wasn't healing properly. Muma had offered and invited him over to stay and heal for a little while because we all felt really bad, which actually gave me a space to help nurture him back to health. So that was really dope. But you would think that this was the end of everything. No. Now, you know, meds, they actually come with side effects. And one of them for him was constipation. So he felt like he had to go one day. And I actually went in the bathroom with him, helping him, talking him through it, giving him breathing techniques to do. And I guess as it was coming out, he might have strained a little bit too hard because now one of the stitches had busted and he's squirting blood everywhere again. But the catheter is in. When I say the panic on this man's face, my heart was broken for him. And now I could tell that that man Puzzle had definitely done something because this was not making sense. And the pressure of that bend wasn't enough for all of this to have happened in the first place. I'm very much sure of that. Fresh actually wasn't a believer of the religion or anything. He just felt like maybe this was a sense of bad karma or something. But eventually, he began to believe otherwise. Now, I told you, Muma actually practices in it too. So, as he was there, she actually had to go through one of her cleansing and prayer rituals. And she had like her statues and everything everywhere. I won't get into which ones. So, she had one that she was cleaning and she had inside of the kitchen. And one night, every time I walked in there, it was like the light switches, the sockets and everything kept clicking, like something on the other side was trying to get a message through to me. And when I called her in the kitchen, it wasn't doing it anymore. It would stop immediately. And I was so confused because I know what I'm experiencing. I ended up going and check on Fresh in the other room where she was allowing him to sleep. And it seemed like he was tossing and turning, like something was bothering him in his sleep. And I could tell. So I ended up saying a prayer and asked God to protect him. Now, in this room, she actually had another statue, which was the one that she said would walk with me. But she also confessed to me that Puzzle used to come up there and he used to pray. And he also used to pray to that statue. At this point, I had believed that he was trying to do something to that man through what he did to him during the fight when he was scratching him, because, you know, you can use DNA, as well as using the statue or maybe something of mine, the belongings or whatever, to stop him from pursuing anything with me, as well as ruining my relationships and my love life. So this was all wild to me. Now, I would later get this confirmation in my head because me and Muma ended up going to her room and just was chopping it up in there, just talking, having a moment about everything. And we were sitting on the bed. She had a light bulb sitting on her dresser. Nobody was moving. Nobody touched anything. We were sitting on the bed. Next thing you know, the light bulb starts to move, whoosh, whoosh, side to side. And we looked at it like, what is going on? When I tell you, we both were in shock. And she says she feels like there's a dark energy. She feels like Puzzle was trying to do something and trying to send something. And we ended up just praying to God, like, don't even send nothing our way, bro. You have clearly done enough, and this is getting crazier. Now, when Fresh woke up, he did say that he felt very weird in his sleep. So I knew that that man definitely was doing something to him. Y'all, when I say that my life is a movie, I'm not exaggerating.